Welcome back, everyone. For all you focused learners out there, today we are jumping into a really fun, highly pragmatic explainer. We're looking at exactly what happens when you decide to revisit a childhood hobby. Specifically, we're exploring this through the lens of buying an electric guitar as an adult. We are pulling some great insights from a wonderful source by a budding guitarist named Ang, who recently documented this exact super relatable experience.
So, you're thinking of getting an electric guitar again? It's a pretty direct question, right? But honestly, it hits incredibly close to home for a lot of us. You know, you might have that old acoustic just sitting in a closet, or maybe you suddenly remember the sheer thrill of playing years ago, and out of nowhere, that desire just returns. You want to play music again. But as we're going to see, jumping back into this as an adult is a completely different ballgame.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1. Return of the Guitarist and Shifting Motivations Over 20 Years. When Ang decided to pick this hobby back up after more than 2 decades, the driving force behind it had completely transformed. Think about it. When you're young, the motivation is almost universally the same, right? You want to play exactly like your favorite rock star guitarists. You want the fame, the blistering speed, the whole shebang. But look at the adult side of things here. 20 years later, reality sets in. The motivation becomes incredibly practical. It's about adding essential muscle movement into your daily routine. It's about getting some actual physical exercise for your hands. And mentally, it's about the joy of tinkering, really learning how the instrument actually works inside and out, and simply entertaining yourself. It's just a much more grounded, personal goal.
Which brings us to a major reality check in Section 2. Beware hidden gear costs. Because, spoiler alert, it is never just the guitar.
Any new project you indulge in comes with hidden costs, and in the guitar world, we call this the accessories trap. A simple guitar purchase almost instantaneously spirals out of control. First, you need an amplifier just to hear the electric guitar. Then you want to tweak the sound a bit, so you buy a pedal. Then you might want different pickups, and then, inevitably, you buy even more pedals. The initial budget you set for just the instrument is rarely the final amount you actually spend.
I love how Ang wonderfully and bluntly puts it, if money is not an issue, you can simply buy anything. You should stop reading at this point. It's this great bit of self-deprecating humor that forces you to take a hard look at your wallet size right from the jump. If you have an unlimited budget, hey, congratulations. But for the rest of us living in reality, we're going to need some very specific, budget-conscious strategies to navigate the music store.
So let's talk about that in Section 3, how to avoid buyer remorse while navigating the music store. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate foolproof shopping tactic to avoid that awful feeling of regret when you're staring at hundreds of instruments. Step 1, go to the store, ask questions, and play a bunch of different types. Step 2, and this is definitely the hardest part, do not buy anything yet. Seriously, put the wallet away. Step 3, let that feeling sink in for 1 to 2 weeks. Just wait it out. And Step 4 is where the magic really happens. Wait until you literally dream about a specific guitar. Or maybe you suddenly remember one vividly while you're taking a shower. When that happens, that is the guitar you go back and buy. Now, a huge part of avoiding buyer's remorse is knowing what you actually want to play. Your musical tastes are inevitably going to change over time. You might start out wanting to shred heavy metal, and then years later, you find yourself super drawn to smooth jazz. But you must identify your current genre before buying. Why? Because forcing an instrument to do something it wasn't built for is a complete disaster. If you try to play heavy metal on a classical acoustic guitar by literally taping a pickup to it, not only is the playing experience going to be incredibly weird and awkward, but you are actively going to damage the guitar. Match the tool to the task. Moving right along to Section 4, Rules for Choosing Your Guitar, the 3 essential pillars. Pillar 1 is visual appeal. Now, some people think judging an instrument by its looks is superficial, but aesthetics actually matter tremendously. If you don't love looking at it right at first sight, you are simply way less likely to pick it up and practice. An ugly guitar, no matter how well it plays, is just going to sit in the corner collecting dust. It needs to inspire you from all the way across the room. Pillar 2 is sound, and we have a massive warning here. Do not trust the audio you hear on YouTube reviews or tutorials. That audio is heavily processed, perfectly edited, and incredibly unreliable for judging true tone. You absolutely have to compare that against the unprocessed, honest sound of the guitar in a local shop. You've got to hear it raw through an amp right in front of you to really know if you love the sound it generates. So the absolutely crucial point here is Pillar 3, playability. This is overlooked by beginners all the time, but it is literally make or break.
Pressing your fingers onto the frets and moving your hand up and down the neck must not cause any discomfort or pain in your hands. If the neck is uncomfortable or the frets are sharp, actually scratch that, if there's even a little bit of pain, it will instantly ruin the playing experience and you'll quit before you even really start.
All of this feeds into the economics of gear. Once you start hunting for playability and sound, you start seeing massive price differences. So why are high-end guitars so ridiculously expensive? Well, you're definitely paying for marketing and branding, but you're also paying for high-quality internal parts, better pots, bridges, and tuners. You're paying for premium wood types like mahogany and rosewood, but most importantly, you're paying for strict quality control, ensuring the guitar plays perfectly right out of the box, which in turn gives it a super high resale value down the line.
This brings us to a really tough choice for returning players. Modern manufacturing means entry-level guitars made in China or Indonesia are actually pretty good now, but they severely lack quality control. That means getting a great one relies entirely on a dice roll of luck and your own ability to manually set up the guitar yourself. If you don't have those skills yet, our source recommends a much safer bet: mid-range guitars. They aren't the ultra-premium models from the US or Japan, but they offer way better consistency for beginners without totally breaking the bank.
Section 5. The partcaster approach, a sustainable long-term strategy.
Now, what's really interesting about this concept is this bit of insider terminology, the partcaster. What if you want a great guitar, you're on a strict budget, and you have that adult urge to tinker? As the name suggests, a partcaster is an approach where you assemble a guitar from completely different parts, different models, and sometimes even entirely different manufacturers. It's like putting together a giant musical puzzle. It is the ultimate customization project.
Our source, Ang, specifically decided on a partial partcaster strategy, and it is genius. Here's exactly how it works. First, you buy a decent entry-level guitar, either new or used. Second, you just play it. Make it your primary instrument to get those hand muscles moving again. Finally, step 3, you upgrade the parts over time. You swap out the pickups, change the neck, or upgrade the tuners in the future, but only as your wallet allows. It completely solves the budget problem while totally satisfying that desire to tinker and learn how the instrument actually works. Now, you might be wondering, if you want to build a guitar, why not just buy a full do-it-yourself kit from scratch? Well, Ang points out a very relatable reality check. Assembling a guitar from a box of raw wood is literally like building complex IKEA furniture. Plus, trying to do a proper paint job is an incredible hassle, and let's be honest, most of our apartments or standard living environments simply don't have the space or ventilation for sanding and painting wood. The partial partcaster avoids all this mess while still giving you a totally custom instrument.
And that brings us to our final thought. At the very end of their notes, Ang admits something pretty funny. If money were truly no object, they would buy a Fender Telecaster 1951 Butterscotch Blonde. The beautiful irony here? They have never even played one. But it perfectly fulfills Pillar 1. It is visually appealing to them above absolutely everything else. It's their ultimate dream instrument. So I leave you with this question to ponder. What is your 1951 Butterscotch Blonde? What is that one instrument you dream of suddenly remembering? Figure that out, and you just might find yourself playing again.